Hi, everybody. It's Dionne Warwick. Yes, me. And please forgive my appearance. Truly bad hair day. I would not have missed it under any circumstances to be here this evening to celebrate with you. The History Makers is very, very, very special. It has given me an opportunity, like you, to get to know ourselves. I come from a singing family, a gospel singing family, known as the renowned Drinkard Singers. My mom, her sisters, and brothers comprised the gospel group, and how proud can I be of them? I cannot say. They were the first Black gospel group to perform outside Mahalia Jackson at the Newport Jazz Festival. They were also the first Black gospel group to record on RCA Records. Yes, I'm very, very proud of my family. And I guess it was preordained because they let me do the same thing. We formed a gospel group. When I say we, I mean my sister Dee Dee and I, and two cousins. We called ourselves the Gospelaires. We entered a gospel show at the Apollo Theater in New York City, the Amateur Hour. And guess what? We won. Yeah. So the apple doesn't fall that far from the tree. You know, it's been a pleasure to get to know a young lady that introduced me to the History Makers. She has become a real mentor of mine, yes. She opened my eyes not only to Black history, but to archival interests, things that I never even thought about and now have knowledge of. Her name, Juliana Richardson. Juliana is the type of person that we all have to be loved, yes. She is tenacious, she's dedicated, she's all those things that we need to continue to provide us with knowledge. And I cannot be more thankful to her than I am. You know, back in 2001, History Makers, they honored me. Yeah, they did. And we're going to take you back to that date now. An evening with Dionne Warwick, where I was interviewed by one of my dearest mentors, Diahann Carroll. God rest her, and God bless her. And, well, let's take a look.
We're dealing in a community that has often believed, because our history has been really sort of taken from us, that we don't have a story to tell. And so it's in that in this whole thing we are really value creating in many ways, and saying that you are valuable and your story is valuable and it needs to be heard.
We're about more than music and sports. So, we have physicians, we have scientists, we have archaeologists, we have everything that you have, we have.
The types of people that we have interviewed over this last year have been people that have made strides in the medical arena, and we really had to work to sort of search those people out because they are not household names. They should be, but they're not.
I had to kind of wade through to find that it even existed. It should not have been that way. It should never have been that way. It should not be that way. And I'm very, very proud of people like Juliana, who has really taken up the banner and said, enough. It's nice to know that there are a few other people on the same page that I'm on.
We look for people who believe in the project because they're donating their times and their talent to this. They're not paid. And it's work on both their part and their staff's part to come here. So That's what we look for, and we see that as a sign of commitment. And then we often ask them, because we want to have an interview that they would feel comfortable, asking them, in this type of program that we're having tonight, we ask them who they would like to have interview them. And so, as Ms. Work said, she and Diahann Carroll have been friends for years, and I think there's even an interesting story, but we'll leave it for tonight about how they actually met. We would leave often in amazement, in wonderment, listening to the depth of the story, being amazed at what we were learning for the first time about people that we thought we knew. And it is my honor tonight to introduce the HistoryMakers of 2001.
I can acquit Angela Davis, black militant, but I cannot acquit Angela Davis, the communist. So communism must not come into this case at all. And I said, I never want to bring communism into this case, and I'll fight it if the prosecution try to bring it in.
So he said, you know, I just want you to understand that you're talking about getting into a business that up to this point has not embraced or welcomed anybody other than white people.
Dr. King had just been assassinated, and there was a threat that the riot was going to take place. And they want to talk to some people. So Daddy-O called me, and he called Herb Kent, and he called Vernon Jarrett. Now, we were arrogant enough to believe somehow we get on television and say, okay, all you folks stop rioting now because we're on TV and we're telling you to stop rioting. Well, of course, the riot went on.
When we opened up, I think we had about 50,000 people on our first day. Mayor Daley had called down to ask, did we have a permit? And Jesse asked me, he said, do you have a permit? And I said, what is a permit? No, we did not have a permit, because I didn't know we had to have a permit. And Daryl Grisham got involved in whatever permit we needed, but Jesse said to Daley, why don't you come down here and tell the people you're going to close?
The students decided that they would form an independent organization, or an organization different from the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, and that they would not become the youth arm of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. The name of that organization was the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. Marion Berry was elected as the first chair of that organization. He was a student at Fischer University at that time.
We could give to each other and take from each other and form a theatrical expression that, to my knowledge, had not yet been formed among black people.
We called him Grandpa Putt. His name was William Driscoll, and he was the one that spoke with the Gullah accent and so forth. We called him a Geechee because he was a very little man, and rhythmic speech. But he was the one who taught school and was very smart, wrote with such a beautiful hand. He was a craftsman in the African tradition, and he wove beautiful things for the table, doormats and what have you, for the horses, the ornamental things, the collars, out of bark from the poplar tree. He would take the outer bark off and put the inner bark in the stream for 21 days. And then he would separate each piece, and it would be as thin as a layer of paper. And then he'd come back and do it in a 5 system of braiding.
A white critic at one time said that all novels were direct descendants of the slave narrative. I was enraged until I thought about it. I said, yes, it is. Yes, it is. Native Son, Invisible Man, Beloved, all of them come out of that tradition, which is designed to have a moral appeal to white people. Look how bad you're treating us, why don't you stop? I decided I wasn't going to write a protest novel.
Joe always wanted to sing ballads, you know, beautiful songs. But when Joe was singing ballads, see, the market, the audience wanted to hear someone who looked like Joe sing blues. You had to look like Billy Eckstine or Tyrone Power if you were going to sing ballads and beautiful tunes. And that broke Joe's heart.
More than 3 years ago, I was sitting in Springfield realizing that there were many persons who had preceded me in the legislature, but very little was known about them. So I was looking for a place, someone to begin to record and document the history of the great contributions and achievements of African Americans here in Illinois. And I ran into Julianne Richardson, and we formed a marriage. So that our young people who will come behind us will have a blueprint as to the great things that our people have done to build this great society.
Good evening. Diahann Carroll is a history maker in her own right, with a multitude of firsts. She has been honored with a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and she performs around the world in concerts and nightclubs. Ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, I give to you that gorgeous creature who left me to go somewhere, Miss Diahann Carroll.
It is an honor for me to be here in the presence of the young woman that is being honored tonight. She's an incredible creature. I think we should all be very grateful that we lived in her time and we shared her brilliant artistry. There is only one. Ladies and gentlemen, the incomparable Dionne Warwick.
Out of this merry-go-round. dream.